evening, everybody. Welcome you to our January 8th, 2024 Board of Education work session. And we're going to start with the roll call. Kinsey?
Becker,
Here.
McCoy,
Here?
Leighton and Warren,
Here.
Welch,
Here.
Lyerly,
Here.
Mills,
Here.
Gerlach.
Here. Okay, we have 6 board members present here, and Andrew Becker is joining us remotely. We're also joined at the table by someone from ICSC. Can you please introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Derek Arcand. I am from Green Bay Preble.
Okay. All right. Oh, we have someone else. Could you quickly introduce yourself? It's okay. It's okay. Yeah.
Hello, my name is Paula Andress, and I'm for ICSC for Preble.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Next is our under recognition, and I'm going to hand that over to our superintendent. What? Oh,
We're in the special, right?
I'm very sorry, everybody. Let me readjust here. Okay, so this is our special board meeting, and I got to pull up the right agenda here. There we are. All right. Would someone read the motion, please?
I move that the transfer of staff as presented be approved.
Second.
Any discussion? Any questions? Okay, Kinsey?
Online voting is now open. All votes have been entered and the motion is carried with all board members voting in favor.
Okay, under employment of staff, would someone read the motion, please? Yes. Oh, very good. Hi. Would you like to come up and say a few words? Okay, welcome. Can you hit the, there you go. There you go. Thank you. There you go.
Okay. I would just really like to thank you for the opportunity to serve the Martin families and staff and students. And it's been 1 week and we've had a wonderful week. So I'm really looking forward to the future and I really appreciate the opportunity.
Well, welcome aboard.
Thank you.
So, all right. Thank you. Okay. Now on to employment of staff.
I move that the employment of staff as presented be approved.
Second.
Discussion, questions? Kinsey?
Online voting is now open. All votes have been entered and the motion is carried with all board members voting in favor.
Okay, next is resignation of staff. Could someone read the motion, please?
I move that the resignation of staff as presented be approved.
Second.
Discussion or questions? Kinsey?
Online voting is now open. All votes have been entered and the motion is carried with all board members voting in favor.
Okay. Then with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Oh,
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we're going directly into our next meeting. Okay. Okay. Now, so. Yeah, I'm gonna welcome you all again. This is a whole different meeting. Welcome you all again to our work session, for, January 8th, 2024. And we're gonna do the roll call.
Gerlach,
Here.
Mills,
Here.
Lyerly,
Here.
Welch,
Here.
Leighton and Warren,
Here.
McCoy,
Here.
Becker,
Here.
Okay, we're all accounted for. We're gonna go right into the next agenda item, which is recognition, and I'm gonna hand that over to Dr. Taylor.
Okay, we have our wonderful presentation from Nicolay. And if you could come on up and introduce the young people and what are you going to do?
You can right there, yep.
Good afternoon. Thank you for inviting us. So we're Soul from Nicolay Elementary. We are here to do a dance for you guys. We have Miss MacArthur, our administrator, and Miss Escamilla is right here. Myself, I'm Mr. Guillen. We have a group of kids ranging from 3rd to 5th grade dancing. We have a larger group. Unfortunately, because of the space, we could only bring the 4 couples. And one of the kiddos got sick, so he couldn't make it. We are here to dance one dance for you guys. It's called Pavido Navido. It's a northern Mexican song and traditional dance that they do. And hopefully you enjoy it. Thank you for inviting us again.
We're very glad you're here. So just go ahead and proceed when you're ready. Thank you very much for joining us. Can you tell us a little bit more about the group and yeah, please just kind of share anything about this and how practice and how often do you meet?
So, yeah, we practice depending on events that we have. If we have an event coming up, we practice three days a week, for about 45 minutes.
We started 8 years ago. And we started for like just to have something fun for the students and to bring just more culture to our community and our school and share the culture with everyone in our community. And we have been doing this for 8, 9 years now. We were actually recipients of the Doctors in Recital grant in 2018. And that allowed us to buy the students everything that they need for the performances. And we've been doing this ever since.
And
Oh.
every year has been growing. So the first year we only had 2, 3 couples that wanted to participate. And every year we've had interest from kids, I want to be in part of the group. I want to be part of the group. So we actually have, how many couples do we have now? Like
We have 7 couples, so
7
14
couples,
students.
14 students.
Wonderful.
At one point in a year, we had
35.
35 kids.
That was our
dancing. So
biggest group.
It was so fun to see, yeah.
Oh, wonderful. So I can see there's a lot of parents here tonight. If you were a parent of one of these wonderful children, will you please stand up or wave a hand?
But it's-
Go ahead. Yeah.
We also want to say thank you to the parents because without them picking them up after practice and they
Bringing them
really
in.
have really a lot of support from them as well. So thank you.
Okay. Thank you for bringing them out on a cold night like tonight. So, Brian.
Do you know how many of the students carry on into, whether at the middle school and the high school, similar dance routine or groups and stuff
We
offhand?
I'm sorry. We have had many students that dance with us from middle school. So a lot of them through, I believe, the past 3 years, we have had 6th and 7th graders that keep coming and dancing with us. I know there's no dancing groups in middle school, so they usually call us and let us know that they want to continue to be part of this. And once they get older and obviously join more activities in middle high school, they do let us know that they won't be coming back. But every year we have at least a couple of 6th graders that come back to dance.
Good.
And that just shows the fantastic connection you're making with the kids. So thank you so much. So.
All right. Anybody else have any questions? Very good. Thank you again very much. And to the parents for coming out on a winter night. So. Yeah, we'll give you the day off tomorrow. Okay. All right. Wow, that was great. All right, the next thing on the agenda is our public forum. Is there anybody who would like who is registered to speak, or Kinsey, do we have anybody? Okay. All right, if there's no one who wants to speak at the open forum, then we're going to move on to strategic planning. We're going to talk about strategic planning.
Hello.
Hi, and we're welcoming to the table Yep, yeah. Yeah, have a seat and make yourself comfortable. Just press the little face that looks like there's a, yep, there you go.
Okay.
Would you please introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Patty Vickman, and I am a consultant for the Wisconsin Association of School Boards. And we are thrilled to be working with the Green Bay School District on strategic planning. Typically tonight, my partner Cheryl Stinsky would have been joining me, but she woke up this morning not feeling well and decided to spare you all. So I'm here in solo, but the two of us will be facilitating the strategic planning. So tonight, I'm just going to give you a brief overview of the WASB model. We traditionally call it that we help you to honor the past, celebrate the present, and embrace the future. And so I'll be talking a little bit about what the stakeholder-driven planning process is that's used by WASB. Then we'll talk a little bit about its deployment and the timeline that we have in place for Green Bay. We'll also talk a little bit about board member participation since we're presenting to the school board and how other districts have handled that. And then what are some next steps? Okay, so a strategic plan is important, and you will find that districts do strategic planning in all different kinds of ways. Some people will do it 2 nights in a row, and they get, people to come in, and then they pretty much just let the leadership team of the district take whatever the people have said and run with it. Other people will do maybe a couple of nights, they'll do a Saturday, and then they'll have people come back. So there's lots of different models that are out there. The reason why districts do strategic plans is very much the same way that manufacturers and companies do planning as well. And that is that you want to be able to say that you have a plan in place for performance and for excellence in performance. So the school districts need to have a written plan, and that plan is best done when it has community values, when you engage stakeholders, when you look at what educational best practices, and there's an unrelenting focus on student learning. So the strategic planning that we've put in place, the timeline, is going to revisit your district mission and vision statement. I think when we were at a retreat, we found out there were some little tweaks that we needed to do there. We're going to look at your current goals and current outcomes of your current strategic framework and talk about, have we met some of them? Are we still working on others? And that sort of thing. And then we're really going to be looking at what are our desires for the future. The strategic planning has a direct impact on the education that you'll be providing in the district for the next 3 years. It used to be strategic plans were 5 to 7 years, and then they were 3 to 5 years. The world is changing so rapidly, and I'm sure as board members, you realize too, if you look back to last year at this time and now this year, all of the different things that have come across your plates. Some of them are from the national level, some from the state, and some actually from your community. So we do a 3-year strategic plan, but it is reviewed on a yearly basis. It focuses on the what. So what is your purpose as a district? What are your priorities? What is your direction going to be? And then the how, or the strategies and the action steps to help your district realize that, are going to come from you and from your leadership team. The model that we use, is called Plan, Do, Study, Act. It is actually based on the Baldrige model. And for some of you that are very familiar, Baldrige is an outcome and measurement-based tool for performance. It is used in hospitals, it is used in business, it's used in churches, it's used across many different sectors. This particular plan utilizes this for Plan, Do, Study, Act, and it is focused on the excellent performance criteria for education. There's a separate category just for education. We're going to be focusing on that top green section, the Planning Act, where we clarify the purpose and the direction. We have a stakeholder group that's assembled. We gather data from the community and from various stakeholders. We look at how you're currently doing, and we see what are strengths of the district, what are opportunities for improvement, and from there we go ahead and put a plan in place. The do is actually starting to implement the plan. And you as a board are going to have a chance to decide how often you want to be monitoring that plan. The study is, let's come back now. It's been almost a year. Let's see, are we making gains on the outcomes that we decided we were going to do? And the act is then maybe we need to tweak some things. So some school districts that did a strategic plan right before COVID started had to do some tweaking because they had spent a lot of time focused on the strategies that they needed to put in place for COVID, which is okay. It happens in business as well. Things change, product lines change. And so it gives opportunity to always keep that strategic plan at the forefront and fresh. Not, we've got a plan, it gets put on a shelf, and then, what was that strategic plan again? What were our goals? You know, and that can sometimes happen. So why the WASB process? Again, like I said, it's based on Robert E. Wee's stakeholder-driven strategic planning for education, which is really focused on the Baldrige performance excellence in education. It helps you as a board and a district focus and manage planning for the next 3 years. There will be a community survey that will be done. And I see some of you quickly taking notes. Did we do the PowerPoints? Did we make copies for them? Yes. Okay, we can get you, we'll have Kinsey give you, because all of this is on that PowerPoint, but feel free to take notes because that'll help you with any questions you have. So the community survey will go out to all parents, all staff, and 65,000 residents, okay? The stakeholder planning team is a smaller group of people that are going to come together. We give recommendations like to Dr. Tiller of some groups that you should be considering that you have representation from so that your district has a wide perspective. It will help that stakeholder group gain new insights and understanding of what's currently going on in Green Bay. They'll hear about education trends for the future. There'll be opportunities presented, challenges, and they'll help you anticipate your future needs. It really is assisting you in developing priorities for the plan. There's accountability with this. It connects your leadership of your district directly with you, with goals, with measurement criteria. And you have a very active role in the strategic planning through your monitoring of the plan, the supports that may be needed. If there's a particular, you're working with a district that needed to do a new curriculum adoption. Well, they couldn't just do it by themselves. They needed to have the resources. And so the board was very helpful in determining when there would be funding for those resources to be able to put that in place. It's an opportunity for community engagement, both now as we're getting feedback from your community on a number of different things. Some of the things are questions. We work with school perception. Some of the things are questions that other districts have been asked. So you'll be able to have some comparison data. But more importantly, it's going to help you as a board move the plan beyond the boardroom out into the community, because the accomplishments and the challenges of the strategic plan can then be talking points for you whenever you are engaged with the public. And the last thing, which sometimes doesn't happen with other plans, is its flexibility. So we can use this with a district that has 900 students, or we can use this with a district like Green Bay that is one of the top 5 in the district as far as student population. So the process is really customized to meet your district needs. So what are the expectations of the board? We want you to encourage stakeholder engagement in the district's planning process. That means, maybe supporting those people that are going to be on that stakeholder committee at the end, thanking them for their time. It also will mean encouraging people to take the survey. That's the only way we're really going to get feedback from everybody. And I know as we've worked with your district team, they have a number of different strategies in place to try to get information out that this is going to be happening. The plan that comes to you as a board will only be a draft plan. So you will have an opportunity to ask questions of the team that is presenting, get some clarification. If some tweaks are made, those kinds of things can happen. Supporting leadership team in the deployment of the plan with the action, the steps, the resources that might be needed to accomplish the goals. Using that strategic plan as you as individual board members or as an entire board communicate with your community so that they understand what your priorities are and what your plans are, and that it actually generated from the community up to the school district. And then, of course, reviewing, reevaluating, and revising the goals on the minimum of a yearly basis. We say the minimum of a yearly basis. Many districts will do it at semester will do it, and some will even do it quarterly. They have like a quarterly progress update. A lot of it depends on the goals that have been chosen as well, but you will be the ones, the committee will make recommendations, but you will be the ones that will decide how often you want to be looking at it. As far as board membership on the stakeholder team, in checking with my other colleagues who have done this, we have not had an entire board be part of the team because we really want it to be part of the stakeholder group. And, but a lot of boards will choose to do a couple of different things. They might have a couple of representatives that are from the board that will be on the stakeholder committee. They will also open it up that people can observe. We had one district where one board member came to every meeting and just sat and observed the process. And 2 other board members were in and out as it worked with their schedule. So it's really up to you. I do know that you have a policy in place as far as your role in strategic planning. It's not my job to tell you how to implement that policy. It will be up to you and your legal counsel to ensure that you're doing that. The one thing that does happen, and it's going to happen to Dr. Tiller, and it's going to happen to some of the others, is that we do say to people, we want you to leave your titles at the door. Okay, but you all know that even though you may leave your title at the door, if you speak on a topic, they're going, that's the board member speaking. So that's why it sometimes is difficult to have the entire board be part of that. What are the expectations of the district leadership team? We actually had a meeting with them earlier in December. They are going to be in charge of presenting the current data and the future trends. So we don't come in and tell you that, we facilitate the process. So they'll be talking about educational trends, their student performance data, curriculum and instruction of facilities, your financial assessment. And so they have a whole list we gave them in December, and they need to have that ready for February, to the end of February, to come back with that. They will be creating the how, the action steps and the outcomes to the priorities that are determined by the stakeholder team. Many people that might be on the stakeholder team don't understand that if you're going to do a curriculum adoption, you have to look at where you currently are with your curriculum. What gaps do you have? Do you have the resources? Are they best practice resources, or is it professional development your staff needs? So that is something that your district leadership team is going to be able to help with. They will then do a presentation of that draft plan to the stakeholder team, and they get to ask questions and pick it apart. And then they'll go back and tweak it some more. And then ultimately they will, along, and we usually encourage a couple of members of the stakeholder team to help present the plan to you level. They will be responsible for sharing progress toward the goals the way you decide you want it monitored. Okay? So, Okay, I guess my little puzzle covered up the Eon timeline, didn't it? Here's the expectations of the stakeholder planning team. We want them to be active participants and be able to make a commitment to 5 to 16 meetings. We certainly understand if there are emergencies that come up and things like that. We want them to be focused on doing what's best for all children in the district. You have many different types of learning needs, and they need to be focused on all learning needs. Representative of various stakeholder groups, ability to leave their title at the door, and a willingness to collaborate and communicate with other team members. Again, board participation really varies by district. So this is our timeline. We had a pre-planning meeting with Dr. Tiller in early December, and then we met with the cabinet. And when we met at those meetings, we went over the process in a little more detail, and we determined the timeline and leadership expectations. So that's been happening here in December and January. Invitations for inclusion of stakeholder team members went out in December and January, and my understanding is that is well underway. We've also been working with school perceptions to develop a survey that will be emailed to families and to staff members, and then through a postcard notice to all residents. That is scheduled to hit the homes on February 1st, and they will have till February 15th to complete the information. And Lori has been wonderful in working with school perceptions and with us to ensure that we've got everything the Green Bay way, so that it goes out, that we have it translated, that we've got the notifications and everything. So she's been a real help in that direction. And then, of course, gathering of the data for the presentations will fall on Dr. Tiller and your cabinet, because we're giving them an hour at the February 21st meeting. And we've encouraged them to, take the data and make it usable for a stakeholder group. And we suggest graphs, pictures, and using data that's going to be meaningful for the group to interact with. So these are our meetings that we have. February 7th is our first meeting. That will basically be an introduction and a little more in-depth overview of the process. We are going to review your current vision, mission, and core values. And we're going to have some discussion about, are we okay with those? Are there things that need to be tweaked? Do we have some gaps? It's been a while since you've done those. And so I think that will be important for us to have, because we need to look at what we're aiming for. February 21st, which is exactly 2 weeks later, we come back together again. Most of our meetings are 2.5 hours. It will be honoring the past. And that's where you get an overview of the current strategic plan and some district data, educational and financials. March 6th, the survey will be done. We will have been able to tabulate the results and put it into an understandable form for our group, and that's called Celebrating the Present. So that's where we currently are with the community. This is going to be a great baseline survey for you as well as a district, because you can come back in 2 years or 3 years and you can do it again, and you could say, have we improved? We said we were going to improve in this area. Is the perception of the community showing that we're improving? March 4th is Embracing the Future. That's where we review those educational trends. We look at where our gaps are, and we really determine what are going to be the priorities for the next 3 years. Then the administrative and leadership team goes away. They take those priorities, they put some action steps to them, some outcomes, and bring it back on April 17th. Where we get feedback from the entire group on, does this make sense to you? Is this understandable? We want your strategic plan to be such that you could take it out in the community and they know exactly what it is you're working on. May 1st is the final draft, and we always do a little bit of a team celebration because we've spent a lot of time together and we've done a lot of work. And then right now, unless we're dealing with more snow like we are tomorrow, our plan is that at your May 13th workshop meeting, the team would actually do the presentation of your draft. Again, that gives you a chance as a board to be involved with the plan, to ask questions. Why is this there? Why isn't this there? That kind of thing. And then hopefully by May 20th, they would come back and you would have the approval of the strategic plan. So hitting July 1, you're ready to go with your next 3-year plan. Any questions? I've gone through a lot of things. Any questions? Yes, James.
Can you go back one slide, please? So as I look at the meetings, and I just thinking through the structure of the planning process, meetings 1 through 3 seem to be a review of information, right? So can you kind of click into one of those meetings and kind of say, okay, during meeting number 3, it says review of community survey results. My question is, what about, how does the stakeholder group inform the plan, right? I see meetings where we receive information and then the district staff goes away and then presents a plan. And I'm trying to figure out what mechanisms are there in place for the stakeholder group to actually inform that plan through this structure.
Very good question. I'm going to start right away at the very beginning. Many of you maybe.
Yeah, I cut you off.
Some of you may be familiar if you've done things in your other workplaces or maybe even perhaps in this district with what they call a SWOT analysis. Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. We have SOAR. We tend to do a little more positive split on it. And so it's strengths, opportunities, aspirations, and results. And that comes strictly from the Baldrige. So that SOAR process is part of every one of those meetings. So the goal is that by the time we get to the priorities, we're going to have, here's what came up from the community. And that will be a learning thing because none of us can predict, maybe you guys can predict what you're going to get if hopefully all 65,000 people fill out the survey, but we're hoping to have a good blush from the community. There might be some things that community members do not know about the district data. You may know it as board members, but they may not know it. The same thing is happening when we're talking about the current status. So each one of those, the information is presented, and we try to make these very interactive because we don't want people just going, oh, I got to go sit through another sit and get for 2.5 hours. So that's why we say we want an hour for the presentation, and then we're splitting up into groups, and groups are having discussions about what do they see the strengths are, what do they see the opportunities. Will we have some people that might feel this should be a priority, but we have to do some rating? Is it something we can accomplish this next 3 years? Or do we need to have more resources or more things in place? So some of this, when we finally get for the priorities and meeting 4, we actually go around and do a multi-voting then to say with this group, what is top? What has to be done? Because sometimes if you tackle that top item, a couple of the others all fall in place, right? But you also want to be careful that what you've chosen as a priority, you actually have some control over. We had a group we were working with and they wanted a community newspaper to be done by the school district. The district's like, we don't have the resources to do a community newspaper. They had a student newspaper. And what they decided to do was to have one community article in their student paper about things that were happening in the community. But to produce a student community, the strategic planning group came up with all this different groups of people that could be convened at a separate meeting to talk more about a community newspaper. So sometimes those kinds of things happen. So you have to look at what do you actually have within your wheelhouse to be working on. But that's a great question. Does that help you, James?
Yeah, once you said SOAR, I kind of was able to understand the process of receiving feedback. Yeah.
Any other questions? It will be a busy second semester and we're hoping for good weather every one of those Wednesday nights. So, but again, you know, I really want to applaud Dr. Tiller and his leadership team. It's been a pleasure working with you guys so far, and we're really excited about coming back to you on May 13th and what we have from your community and everything. So thank you very much. Yes.
Yeah, I don't think you can, let's see, am I recognized by the chair?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, you can't, the video is one or the other, so I understand why the,
Do you want to
but-
put him on video?
no, I don't think so. This is, it's more important to be looking at this. I guess
Okay. Oh, okay.
if we could just stay on the slide of the meetings, however, and go back one. Thank you. So I am very open to the possibility of a couple board members being with a group of mostly stakeholders in the development of a plan in the initial stages and doing the deeper work, and that, as you said, is it's a draft being presented to the board. But I don't see how all board members' input can be truly honored if it's going to be presented on the 13th with an expected vote on the 20th. I think there's just too many things we have as a board. Members have taken some time to edit things before to, you know, really get things to a point where everyone can agree. And I just think it's too big of a thing to have a week be anywhere close to enough for the, you know, the board as a whole to review it. And it would have a feeling of rubber stamping the draft because it's too much to process in a week. So I think we should maybe look at getting a full, you know, perhaps getting a full month in between. Talk about it at the 13th, the 20th, and then perhaps the second one in June to have time for amendments and so forth. That would be my view on it.
That question has surfaced before with some other boards. This is a tentative timeline. If we get a snow day and we have to cancel one of these, we're going to be readjusting everything. So what some boards have done is they will do that initial presentation of the final draft, and then they will decide at that meeting when they want it to come back for the final approval. So some boards do it like at a regular meeting instead of a workshop meeting, and then they come back at the next regular meeting. That is totally up to you. And that's why our plan is flexible. It's really up to what works best for you and your board and your leadership team. So,
Yeah.
but that's a good question to bring up, Andrew, for clarification. Yeah, it's not a, you know, this is etched in stone. This is a timeline that we've put together that we're hoping we can stick with so that we can at least have this process done by July 1st. Okay.
Anything else, Andrew?
No, I think though, less than a month is risky for truly having a chance for all members to have input, but that would still make it able to be accomplished for July. So thank you.
All right. Go ahead, James.
Just to clarify though, the engagement with WASB, this is a contracted service and this is in a finite number of meetings. Is that a correct statement?
We have, let's say it's not a finite number of meetings. The process is what you are paying for. So the fact that with one district, we might meet with the superintendent and their two principals at a leadership team at one meeting is one meeting, okay? The fact that here we met with Dr. Tiller and then we met with the entire cabinet was two meetings. It doesn't mean that it affects what the process is that we put in place and what we put for our package.
But that package and that process is meeting one, we're going to do this, meeting two, we're going to do this. And so your definition of, well, the two stakeholders had to meet separately, we're counting that as one. Besides the point, my question is more about in the event we get stuck, right? With between meeting 4, when we get some descriptive or plan, and 5, where there's this contest of in which direction we need to take this. It's not part of this plan to inject additional engagements with WASB. That'd be something that we'd have to take on ourselves. To a little bit to Andrew's point, where if there's refinement beyond these meetings, we have to come up with a strategy to do that.
That would be something that we would have a discussion.
I'm sorry.
That would be something that we would have a discussion about, because if you wanted us to continue the facilitation for continuity, then we would just say, here's what the additional charge would be. But we feel very comfortable right now with what we have, that, and there are some things that we probably are not charging you for. When we've met with school perceptions, we're not charging you for that because it's a growth process for us as well with WASB, working with school perceptions to do such a large district survey. So you'll be getting that kind of information. And you as board members will all have a chance to take part in that survey to give your feedback again as well. So there's lots of opportunities, but those are all great questions, great questions.
Anybody else who has any questions at all? Okay, I think, does that complete everything?
It completes everything that I have,
Okay,
yes.
very
Yeah.
good. Well, thank you for joining us tonight.
Yeah.
This will be a challenging and in-depth process, so.
It is.
And I'm really interested to see how this works out.
Yeah. Well, it's all of us together, isn't it?
All right.
Okay.
Thank you very much,
very
Patty.
much. Thank you. Have a good rest of your evening.
Okay, next on our agenda is open enrollment space designation, and that's going to be Dr. Tiller.
Okay, board members, we will be coming to you on the 29th because we're required by law to define our open seats. Currently, we do not have any open seat for special education. So we will be asking that we have zero seats available, and we'll be asking for you to vote that we have 0 seats available, because right now we don't have enough teachers for our own students in special education. So that's what we'll be coming to you, asking for you at that time.
Okay. Any questions? Any discussion? This is something we do every year, and it's always the same. Everyone and other districts around us take the same stance. It's kind of how we do business now with regard to this issue, so.
Can we switch?
Andrew?
Are we done with the old slide? Is the old slide on the main display? I can't.
Oh, there it's gone now.
Okay.
We can
Okay.
see you now, Andrew. Go ahead.
So I realize this is philosophical, and I will almost certainly be in the minority and maybe alone on this. I think it is very unfortunate that we have a situation, and I think the case can be made that we're forced into it, but really, I think the best thing for kids is for all districts to have some open spaces, right? And have movement back and forth, because what we're saying is that if you have an IEP, you can't come, but we have plenty of places that we have plenty of room if you don't have an IEP. I understand the math. I think I understand there's probably not a lot of wiggle room we have here, but the bottom line is, if you have, I know of people who have completely 100% legitimately sold a home and bought a home here to get their child with special needs into the Green Bay schools. Not everyone has that. So I'm going to vote no on this, as I have in many years. It's philosophical, and I understand there's probably not an easy answer or any easily creatable number in certain categories that can work, at least until such time as other districts are not saying they have zero. And I get that it's kind of we're kind of stuck, but anyways, I just say that almost every time this comes up.
Thank you, Andrew. Anybody else? Okay, I think we can move on. Next on our agenda is the new School of Innovation contract renewal. And that is going to be Dr. Tiller as well.
Yes, board, we'll be coming to you again. We'll be looking to renew the contract for new stands for Northeast Wisconsin School of Innovation. We're coming to you prior to the actual expiration, which is June 24th, because we're looking to be submitting a grant for expansion with DPI. And the application requires approval prior to submitting this grant. And they will be going through the process from February 24th to May 24th. So that's why it's important that we come to you now and ask for your vote for the renewal of new at that time.
Okay. We also have the principal, Jason, here. Why don't you come on up and say hi, Jason? We always love to have you here. Yeah, okay. Good to see you.
Good to be seen. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Hi.
Anybody have a question? James has the questions for you.
So grant and expansion, can you define what kind of grant, what kind of expansion you're looking for?
The plan is to expand to 6th grade and then create a specialized program for 11th graders. Those are the two areas.
Okay. All right. Anybody, oh, go ahead, Lynn.
So what grades do you serve now?
7 through 12 currently.
Okay. All right. Go ahead, Brian.
I know last board meeting, we talked about Catherine Johnson and expanding that. Does the charter work well? And I'm sorry, Dr. Tiller, if I'm kind of throwing a technical question out there. Does the charter impact any programming that we could offer at Catherine Johnson? Can they kind of meld together, or does the charter kind of, I don't want to say isolate, but kind of separate the two programs at all?
Yeah, it kind of separates the two programs. Exactly.
All right. Have you moved into your new space at NWTC yet?
We're occupying every inch of every space they're giving us. We are taking over the new water treatment lab on the 19th, so that'll add an additional classroom for us. So this grant doesn't expand the number of students, just the different grades that we're able to service right now.
How many students do you have right now?
285.
285. And are you hoping in the coming years to expand that?
We would like to.
Yeah.
350 to 400 is where we'd like to be when we're done growing.
Okay. All right. Andrew, did you have any questions? Oh, okay. Go ahead, Brian.
So I mentioned again, this is another great partnership that the district has with area educational opportunities, the partnership we have with NWTC to be able to work with them and utilize some of the space and just give another pathway or introduction to some resources in here. It's another one of those great things we do here. So
Yeah, I've talked to enough people now, and that program has been in place for enough years now that you run into people who've had who've had their children in this program, who understand that it's a godsend, and for certain kids who a regular setting might not work so well for them, but this program does, and so it's something I think our district and our community should be really proud of. Brian.
a good friend of mine is a faculty member out there, and he said that they're excited to see the kids on a regular basis, the students out there. Just kind of also feeds the energy for NWTC, their staff, and just to bring that energy in. So
Yeah. Remember when we moved out there, there was some, not sure about this, a little bit of that, but it's turned out to be work really well.
Absolutely. The proximities helped more students participate in college classes. We just had the highest number of students participate in dual credit. We had 51 students participate. We had 48 pass with A or B, 1 withdraw, and 2 Fs. I mean, that's the highest we've ever done. And these are students who would not have qualified for dual credit prior to enrolling at NEW.
If anybody hasn't done it, I would recommend following the Facebook page for your school. Because you guys post very regularly about kids who graduate. They don't necessarily wait till the end of the semester, it seems like.
They'll complete their academic requirements, but many of them will go on to take college classes. A
Right.
number of them will start working in our work-based learning program starting this month as well. So
Yeah.
they complete one step and they start working on the next part of their journey. They're
Yeah.
all required to have a transition plan in place prior to leaving us
Yeah.
and taking the first or second step.
I like the pictures where they're ringing the bell.
That's a good one.
It's always a good day. So, all right. Is there anybody else? Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.
Yep. Okay, the next is policy 343.7 lesson plans, and we're going to hear from David Johns. David, have you ever presented yet? Is this the first time?
Probably
Why don't you-
from a whole start to finish
Yeah,
standpoint.
so
Yeah.
let's take the opportunity then to just introduce yourself and for people who might be watching this.
Sure. Thank you very much. My name is David Johns and I am proud and honored to serve as the Associate Superintendent. New to the community 6 months ago, new to the district, of course, 6 months ago. Absolutely loving every single thing about this work of improving and elevating excellent and equitable outcomes for our students. So,
Okay, proceed.
yeah. And I'm here to talk about policy. I don't have a lawyer next to me.
Yeah, but we have one available if you need.
Okay. Just a bit of framing. Early in my role, I was presented with what'll be a task that'll unfold over several months, and that's to examine the 300 and 400 level policies to submit for your consideration. Something that struck me is, so I'm thinking about where to start. There's hundreds of them. And so the first place I started was by sorting them from the most distant in the past to when they were last reviewed. And then among those, my eye was drawn toward those that really speak to compliance measures. And I absolutely understand compliance when I can see it in the service of something. And so some of the early ones that I looked at involved this notion of lesson planning. So the lesson planning policy was last revised in 2005. 2005 was an era before we had these issued to students and staff. It was an era before curriculum materials were available online. It was an era before Canvas, before Mastery Connect, before a lot of the ways that our teachers currently organize their plans for teaching and learning and actually act on those plans in almost real time. So in looking at that policy, really wanting to, again, for your consideration, communicate the absolute and fundamental importance of lesson planning as a process and all the things that go into planning. It's addressed directly in the educator effectiveness domain 1. So we're really not saying anything that already isn't an expectation for teachers. But looking to make a few shifts in that policy. So what you'll see before you in the red line document and in the proposal is one that removes the expectation for teachers to submit lesson plans in a week in advance to their administrator. Again, reading through the original, well, the policy that's in effect right now, almost every bullet point is about who needs to do what and who's responsible for what. So I with some feedback from the field, surveyed all principals, reached out to all instructional staff, seeking some feedback on their practices, and then also working with our GBA partners through Advise and Confer to hear about practices that are common within buildings, that are different within buildings. Have for you tonight for your discussion a policy that focuses on the importance of planning, the components of high quality lesson plans. Again, that just echoes teaching standards. The empowerment of school leadership teams, building leadership teams in the cases where buildings say, hey, we're a building that stands for this. We should have this in all of our lesson plans. Absolutely can't disagree with that. Let's have a representative group with teacher voice be able to name those things that they agree in common should be part of the lesson planning. And then, of course, reinforcing the importance of quality plans and a system for guest teachers and sometimes each other as colleagues. We know the reality of this, to be able to teach from plans so that we have as minimal of an interruption to the student learning as possible. So those are the primary shifts presented to you. No expectation for teachers to submit these in advance. Did a quick calculation. If a principal has 30 teachers and collects plans for, let's say, 5 periods of instruction, or if it's an elementary principal, 5 different subjects throughout the day, that's 750 daily plans to look through each week. And let's face it, we want our principals in classrooms. We want them engaging directly with students and teachers in the presence of learning, and having them reviewing lesson plans is not a high quality use of their time. Policy also points to the obvious mechanism of support. If teachers are struggling with the planning process, if they want assistance with the planning process, then administrators, as always, are within their rights to ask for those plans, review those plans, maybe even recommend some common template for them. So those are the shifts that you'll see in the considerations. I'm happy to answer any questions you might.
During your meet and confer process with GBEA, can you give do you have any feedback from them generally about how they felt about this proposal?
Questions that they openly had were, I wonder what happens with the ones that we submit. Other questions they had were about the fact that for the secondary teachers especially, and increasingly this will become all of our teachers, their plans live in Canvas, and Canvas is an open book for people to engage with and look at. And so, really they were quick to point out, like, we just evolved through technology to have plans available. We're very open and transparent about who sees them and who works with them. So I think among that group, it really just validated that idea of we've moved a long way since 2005, and maybe there's a better way to do this that doesn't feel as much about, I got to turn this in because somebody said so and it needs to be in a file by this date, and I'm not actually seeing much happening as a result of turning those in. Surveys to principals, just to extend on that, was mostly linked to when I asked the direct question, if you want to know what's happening in a classroom, how often do you refer to these plans? And it was a very small percentage that said, I actually looked to those plans. Almost all of them said, well, I go in the classroom and I talk to students and I see how teachers are presenting lessons. Those are all the things that we want.
So the old process feels anachronistic.
It might be a bit dated.
Yeah.
And surrounding districts and other urban districts throughout the nation have followed suit. It was hard to find districts with recently updated policies that mandate obviously the expectation for planning, the verb is critical, but hard to find an example of a district that in recent times has moved toward that compliance step of turning plans in advance.
And your quick calculation that you mentioned is kind of an eye-opening thing.
Yeah. So we asked our principals, how much time a week do you spend reviewing the plans? A third of them said, I spend no time a week reviewing the plans. 44% of them said, I spend an hour or less reviewing the plans. And I'm just going to say that I'm fine with that because that's not how I want our leaders spending their time.
Right. Okay. Any questions? Any feedback? James?
So in reading the policy, the spirit is plan, right? And you're removing the requirement that you evidence that planning by turning the plan in advance. The policy is silent on setting the expectation that plans are created before instruction. Is that on purpose, or am I not reading and conceptualizing this correctly?
Yeah, I think that's probably. I think that's an accurate but not intended message. Implementation point A is about lesson planning as an expectation.
Right.
What's implied there is the planning happened before the instruction happened, and certainly could be more clear on that.
I would hate for, without clear indication in policy, that someone be able to point to this policy and say, you never said that that I couldn't fill out and say, my week was like this, and fill them out retrospectively. And that's the only thing that I looked at this. I was like, there's no real directive that regardless of whether you turn them in or not, they are created in advance.
Yeah, certainly happy to add that clarity to it. It is not there. You're accurate. Not intended to communicate that it shouldn't be happening, but. Yep.
Anybody else? Andrew?
You're on mute.
You're on mute, Andrew.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I'm very happy to see this. I think, we're taking I've said for years, I think that we have too many things that are compliance. And when we end up with something that is busy work, and we can take it off and by busy work, I mean the filling out of plans in a specified format on a certain date, not planning, which all educators do and is an important process. But taking this busy work off the plate of staff and principals is something I'm very excited to see, and glad to see that we're turning that page and being more modern with it.
Okay. Anybody else? Very good. Thank you.
Thank you. I will make sure you have revised document to act on next meeting. Thanks.
Okay, thanks. Okay, the last thing on our agenda tonight is referendum updates, and we'll be hearing from Josh. Ooh.
Hello, it's been a couple of weeks of holidays here, so there's not been a lot of actual progress in the field. However, I am happy to share with you these renderings that I got this morning of the new stadium area at West, which we're pretty excited about. Still expecting to be breaking ground in April on this project. This is a project that redevelops the field along with the plaza, the grandstands, concession area, and then also the practice field area. So you can see off to the west here that that practice field gets turned. We get the shot put, and the discus out here along with the long and triple jump. We've got the pole vault out over here. This is a 210-foot wide soccer field, which can comfortably accommodate a collegiate soccer game should we need to. And I'm just going to scroll through a couple. This is kind of the overall site plan. Here's a different angle from the southwest corner, from the southeast corner. This is a concept of the entrance to the new stadium area. The current entrance is kind of hidden behind, like straight behind the school. This is angled out toward the parking lot and Reed Street to the west, so it'll be visible as possible from the street. A little bit more welcoming. You like the shadows?
Wow.
Here's another look of the plaza with the banded concrete. This is a big expansion of that existing, actually, that we're tearing down, I think, and rebuilding the concession and bathroom. So we're working with the Booster Club on the final layout of the interior of that area. Actually, there were some emails floating around today between the architect and the Booster Club, I believe. Here's a look from the east. So this is that residential area. Currently, this is chain link fence. We're looking at putting up vinyl to provide a little bit more privacy there. This is a look straight from the west. From the northwest corner of the practice field. That's a rendering of that scoreboard, which is positioned. The scoreboard, I believe, currently is positioned on like the straight south end. This will go to the southeast corner. There, that's that video scoreboard. The board is already approved, and that's kind of the final concept with the truss and the Wildcat logo there. This will be, unlike at Preble, I think I mentioned this, but in case I didn't, this will be a speaker system because this is facing the
north.
crowd, obviously. But at Preble, if you put the speaker system on the scoreboard, blast it facing the crowd, you're blasting it right into people's backyards. We don't have that problem at West, so we're able to leverage that that scoreboard a little bit there. So I will work with Lori on getting some of these pictures out. We're also working on getting signage on that site so that people can see what's to come.
Okay. So, just a reminder that I think all the land that this will be built on belongs to the city.
Yes, the land belongs to the city, and the city, I don't remember if I've talked about this at this board table, but the city has leased the light poles to some cellular companies, so we're working on getting that moved. And we've designed the grandstands such that we could, if there's any sort of delay in moving that one light pole, we can still get grandstands up and get the field done and get the concessions and the plaza done and all that stuff. And just kind of leave that section of grandstands off until we're able to get that equipment moved and build the full section of grandstands.
Is it complicated to do that?
Yes.
Do you know why? I'm curious why it'd be so hard to have that moved.
Why it's so hard to have it moved?
Yeah.
Well, I don't, there's something like 40-year leases and,
Oh.
you know, so we're using city land. The city has leased to a company that has all of these cell towers. That company has leased their tower to telecom, right? So there are a lot of entities involved there
Okay,
that would be upset if they had an outage.
I see. Okay. Go ahead, Brian.
You go back to the drawing of the stadium and all three of them, and then just have two very specific questions. And I should turn the mic because I've done this before. Okay. With the throwing area, have you talked to like your track and field coaches to make sure safety nets would be set up? I recognize high school throwers usually know where they're going, but having coached middle schoolers throwing heavy objects, sometimes it doesn't go where they plan. So have you talked with the track coaches about seating for spectators for the triple jump and how close that is to the discus area?
Yes, we have talked to them. You'll see, and this is the one you're talking about here, right? This picture here. So it would take quite a throw to get a projectile over into this area, right? I have seen a middle school beat before. I know they're not accurate, but they also don't go very far. So we tried several different configurations here. And this is the one we have eventually settled on. I think there may be a coach out there that is a little that that was a little apprehensive, but I believe we've been able to allay those fears. We did the measurement. It would take quite a throw.
I worked a meet at St. Norbert where a student went over the college level net into someone's windshield. So I'm glad there's no parking right there.
Oof.
It wasn't our school, so that was okay. So I would imagine seating would be available to parents, both like in between the triple jump and long jump area and the two throwing areas. So that they could bring out lawn chairs or whatever to watch the field events.
Yeah, there's quite a bit of plaza space over here. Even in between the long and triple jump area and the bleachers there, the grandstands, the back end of that.
Go ahead, turn your mic on.
Yep, I just want to make sure. I know I kind of spoke with you briefly about the setup at Preble. I've spoken before that there's a lot of officials that are excited to come and work football games at Preble with the new turf, and they'll be excited to work at West. If there is a way that you can have some area for rain delays that the officials can go in, possible changing areas, and just kind of take into consideration that when you're looking at I know at Preble, they have the building kind of in the hill between the field and the school. It just helps perception with a lot of people that work in our schools and help out our student athletes of not necessarily a locker room, but a spot where they can go during inclement weather and halftime and just be there. So just to take into consideration, it's a pretty quick fix there. So
Sure. There are a couple of spots that could happen. Also, recall we've got multiple projects going on at West, and one of them's on the interior that's building an officials room that, and the building, unlike at Preble, is very, very close to the field there. And that will have like lockers, showers, commodes.
I say that comparing it with high schools, officials talk about what schools treat them well based on the physical facilities of it, but also within the treatment of by the athletic directors and stuff. And Green Bay has a pretty good reputation, but these physical facilities, you have people coming into the building and seeing it and talking to other people that may or may not live in the district, but can really build up the little details on there. So thanks, Josh.
Does, I think I saw one of the renderings that still had the greenhouse on it.
Yeah, greenhouse is still there, but it is moving.
Oh, it is, okay.
Yeah.
I was wondering, because it's kind of smack in the middle of all of this.
Yeah, right now the greenhouse is it's like right here where my cursor is. Can you see my cursor moving
Yeah,
there?
yeah.
So we're relocating that
Okay.
to put in some more accessible parking and then expand that concession stand bathroom area.
Okay.
And also, that's the only way we could really get that entrance turned. We really wanted it to be seen as well as possible from, where people park.
Of course. So, go ahead.
I also noticed that there seems to be a lot of space between the back of the end zone and the track, where other schools have typically had high jump in that area. And it looks like there's pits kind of set up there. During a football game, is that an area where kids would possibly be able to hang out like I've seen at some other high schools in the area with it? Or that's one question. That I imagine there's a fence going between, or would this all be fenced in? So would the practice field be available to the community during just other events?
Well, the practice field won't be fenced in, so you're over here, the fence kind of goes around the main plaza here. This is still open to Fisk Park. The intention, I believe, is to have high jump happening in the paved D area up here. For a long time, we could not fit the pole jump up here. So we had the pole jump sitting down here, which caused all sorts of logistic issues for beats and things like that, but we were eventually able to get that worked out. We have not had conversation about the students congregating in there. I have seen out, local schools, they'll bring up temp bleachers and maybe they'll put the band out on that bleacher or something like that. That would certainly be a possibility. We haven't really discussed that though.
Is there anybody else who would like to? I don't know. What do you guys think?
As you mentioned, we're both Preble students, so this won't really end up affecting us. But as a member of the pep band, I have experienced being placed in that extra little D area, and it seems to be one of just the most convenient places. So if that's what that area would be used for, I personally believe that that would be very efficient and just quite a simple use of that space.
Feel free. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Okay, if there's no other questions, go ahead, Brian.
That's gonna be grass on the practice field. Will that be painted or will it like? what-
Sorry. Yeah. We're going to be sodding that and that'll be striped with paint. So that's not artificial and nothing west of the track is artificial.
Whatever season it is.
Yes.
Okay. Well, whenever we talk about these projects, I always feel compelled to mention that this is only we're only able to do this because of the goodwill of the voters of this community and the taxpayers of this community. And I mean, I don't think any of us need to be convinced on the fact that facilities has a direct impact on student achievement. But this is going to be huge, and I can't wait to see it. You said we're breaking ground in April?
Yeah, I'm breaking ground in April, hoping to be open for that fall season.
How, so obviously this will be very impacted by weather. Like if we have a summer full of rain. But the timeline, if the weather is normal and you think we could really have a football game there in the fall?
Oh, yeah,
Excellent.
definitely.
Fantastic.
We will definitely be playing football there in the fall and soccer. And we'll be having our band showcase there.
Okay. Very good. Go ahead, Brian.
That extra field on our left of it, would that be also able to host like a JV soccer game while there's a football game? Like, can we have two events going on at the same time where it could be marked for a soccer match while a football game's going on? Because I know some schools have both events scheduled, and I think it's just kind of brings two groups in to the school at once.
I see no reason why not. I haven't been a part of those conversations, so I would hesitate to say like 100% yes. I do know that field is currently used by some sort of middle school football program. I don't remember the name of the team there. And I believe they have competitions there.
Okay.
We as a district though would still be responsible for the marking of the field, the utilization of the field. So I guess my question is, if that's the case, we would still be able to mark it as a soccer field if that's something that the school or the district wanted because of the upkeep with it, and other groups would just kind of have to work with however that's marked at that time.
Yeah, we mark it.
Okay. Anybody else? All right. Thank you, Josh. And these pictures will be going onto onto our website?
I haven't even had a chance to talk to Lori. I would assume they'll make their way up there though.
Yeah, I just think there's probably a lot of people who are really anxious to look at them. That's,
I know that there are.
yeah, okay. Great. Thank you very much. Okay, all right, that completes our agenda for tonight. So with that, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. Oh, wait a minute. Lord, I'm really not in my game tonight. Would someone please read the motion to go into closed session? Go ahead, Lynn.
I move that the board convene into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statute 19.85, section 1C, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility, to wit, superintendent's performance evaluation. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we're adjourned. Do we have to take a vote? Okay. Go ahead, Kinsey.
Becker,
Aye.
McCoy,
Aye.
Leighton and Warren,
Aye.
Welch,
Aye.
Lyerly,
Aye.
Mills,
Aye.
Gerlach.
Aye.
Okay, then we are adjourned. Thank you.
You have been watching the Green Bay Area Public School District's Board of Education meeting. Please visit the school district's website, www.gbaps.org, for more information on the district and future meeting dates. If you cannot fully access the information on this video, please let us know the accessibility issue you are having by calling 920-448-2025 or by email at communications@gbaps.org. We will try to provide the information to you in an alternative format and/or make the necessary improvements to make the information accessible.